Hello, my name is Jack WIESE. You are listening to Pensive Bouts. This is episode 1001. First we'll have a brief introduction, and then I'd like to get straight into the discussion because why not? Why have a whole standalone intro episode? So, Pensive Bouts. What is a pensive bout? So we'll start with bout. So a bout is a short period of intense action, usually intense activity. I've really used it, seen it used to describe cavalry actions for some reason, but I guess it's very applicable to those situations. But if something is pensive, so you have bout, right? This is a short period of intense activity. But then if something is pensive, it means it's often done in it's something reflective or in a thinking state. If someone is pensive, they are most often thinking profoundly or just on other things. So a pensive bout is, to me, a short intense duration of thought, reflecting and things such as that, of that nature. And to me, that effectively surmises what these are. These are pensive bouts. These are short, intense activity or short, intense periods of thinking, I suppose, because a lot of these will be very extemporaneous. So will not be much preparation. These will be spontaneous, I suppose, a bit of serendipitous display of automatic speaking, I suppose, because there'll be general topics which create the alignment, because otherwise it'd be too everywhere. So we'll have some synchronization based. Everything will be under the one topic. It'll be a word, a notion, a concept, a quote, what have you. But the whole point of this podcast, my whole goal, is to help you unlock and get back to and rediscover, or whatever stage you might be at with it, your true self. Because every person has a true self, right? A core identity, core ideals, core proclivities, which make you who you are. And the whole point of this is to help you strengthen that aspect of yourself, that core of yourself, through reflection, through self-discovery, through art, through fashion, through design, basically means of creative expressions. And also through these discussions, hopefully they can just get you thinking. Basically, that's all these are trying to do, to get you thinking. Obviously, there's a myriad of reasons why I feel inclined to make this podcast, but the main overarching, over everything, over all the more frivolous reasons, is that I wish to help you rediscover yourself, because I think in that lies a great sense of joy and not inexhaustible joy, if you really discover your core self again. Because as we grow up, they are often, our true selves, our core selves are often, they have walls built around them. They have layers applied, so it's harder to get to them. And those layers are applied by society, even family, even friends, marketing, advertising, conditioning that we want this thing. We'll be conditioned to be wanting certain things, to feel certain things. There's a whole myriad of things that can be built up around the true self. And that's a discussion for another video perhaps. But yeah, so the main purpose with this is just to get you thinking, and just to hopefully, even if it just helps one person, that's fine for me. Because over the last few years, the biggest disservice I did to myself was allowing my true self to have layers be built around it. And of course you can say, oh, just be headstrong, oh, just don't care what people think. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're all humans, and if we see repeated, if we are our true selves and we receive repeated stimuli that tell us to change the aspect, it's very easy to change that aspect of ourselves, especially when we're younger, which is often when those layers are applied to our true selves, which is what happened with me. I was, and I feel like we all are, intensely ourselves around from childhood, maybe until late elementary school. For me, it was middle school or so, and then I started caring too much what other people thought, and I started desiring things which I truly didn't desire deep down. And so I feel like that period is when they're often most applied, and taking those layers off in adulthood can sometimes be very difficult. But there is means in which you can take those layers off, and that is largely done through rediscovering yourself. And for me, that was through, obviously, a little bit of reflection, but it's often in my opinion, most done with just living too, and living through art and design and creative expression, whether it's through fashion, through clothing and personal style. And because when you create, sometimes it can circumvent because when you create, you draw something out, you take something out, you don't take it out of yourself, but a tunnel is created from your true self to the exterior world in some ways. And when you create, it opens it up a little bit more. There's an open path that it can come out, and then that just increases its strength. The more it knows, the more that you know, and it's not conscious always either. Just the more because in a way it feeds your true self to have it be used productively in a creative way. So that's what this podcast will largely focus around. So if we have topics of art, fashion, or design, it won't largely be for purposes of education in the sense of the partition of facts. It'll be more so for the value in which it can provide you in rediscovering yourself, rediscovering your true self, and really allowing you to flourish mentally. In my opinion, this is the number one way in which you can find your purpose, which that will be today's discussion, is purpose, and how you can stop letting others define success for you. It's a way of really finding what it is that you want in life and what you want to do with life. And even if, say, for example, you're mechanic or just something that isn't very, strictly speaking, correlated to the creative fields, you use creativity in your own way in each occupation. Every occupation has its own, every life has its own unique applications of creativity, and that's a beautiful thing. And definitely don't feel like because you're not a creative career person that you can't access your true self, because creation is open to, especially nowadays, creation is open to every individual, and that's also a beautiful thing, the accessibility to creativity. And obviously there's a long ways to go with that, but it's, yeah. So yeah, if there's discussions on art or fashion, it'll be in aid of inciting curiosity, trying to help people rediscover their true selves through reflection. Because art is an incredible way, especially if you feel solidarity with an artist and an artist's message. It can really that can really be a powerful thing, and feeling like you have a voice, feeling like yeah, it can be a powerful tool for discovering your true self. So yeah, the whole purpose of this podcast is to help you discover your true self. And that's basically, done through the means of reflection and having your own pensive bouts. Whether you want to write or speak, just because every individual needs a conduit for their true selves so that it can be strengthened and rediscovered. So for you, that might be writing, that might be creating, that might be, making clothes, that might be, there's innumerable ways in which it can be reached. But in short, I know this is all my thought. I'm going to not do too much editing. I don't want to do many gimmicks. I just want to share my message with you all. That's the whole point of this. I don't need to do much else. I just wish to impart my message, and whoever needs to see it will see it. I don't want to do too much pushing on it. And even if it just helps one person, that will mean the world to me, we'll get into the more formal topics so that this discussion can have a little bit more intelligible direction. But my purpose, and I've always been doing things for it. Well, not always, but especially the past couple of years, I've been doing things for it. And I just recently vocalized it. It just kind of came to me. And for me, my biggest purposes in life are essentially just to inspire creation and inspire self-discovery and inspire reflection and inspire curiosity. Because to me, the two biggest things that anybody, or the two greatest things that anybody can do for themselves and for others as well, is be creative and be curious. And to me, if you can have those two aspects for your entire life, for, any period of time, then it will be, I think, incredibly beneficial to you, because you'll do so much learning, you'll constantly be growing, and there's just innumerable applications and of benefit that can be found. And it's something I wish to impart with at least one person intensely. So that is this podcast is a conduit of my purpose, and that inspiring creativity, inciting curiosity. Basically that sums it up. I have it written on my wall. I just want to, on paper, don't worry. I just want to make sure. Yeah, it's basically those two. It's basically just to inspire creativity and incite curiosity, because curiosity often leads to discovery in the exterior world and discovery in the interior world. And we can talk about the interior world another time a little bit more, but the idea of personal mythology. But so I wish to incite curiosity and inspire creativity, and hopefully bring along some degree of reflection into you, into yourself. And you can consider things and maybe where they come from. So, purpose. How do you discover your purpose? Well, in my opinion, it comes down to how well do you know yourself? And how well do you know what you think comes from you, your true self, because oftentimes we think things, but they aren't coming, like we think things very automatically, very implicitly, but oftentimes they don't come from us, if that makes sense. Like maybe it's something that you've been conditioned to think that you need just by society or by parents or by some other individual. And oftentimes it's not a desire which comes from within ourselves, from within that idea of true self. And that, again, that idea of true self being who you are without impudence from the outside world, or it's often something that's hindered in some way. The aspects of yourself that reach the exterior world are often almost always muffled, even if you almost fully liberate your true self, because obviously, you're not gonna be absolutely 100% yourself all the time, but the goal is to be 90% or so, just because sometimes depending on the environment, it can be more beneficial to retain it. But in my opinion, purpose is best found in rediscovering your true self, and really, because it's a long journey, rediscovering yourself and refining yourself, and it will require a period to find your purpose, to find who you are. It will take a period of, I don't want to say isolation, but putting yourself in an environment where what you think is the most important, I suppose. I'm trying to think of the proper way to word that. And obviously, that's something that is very difficult to do, but it's going to have to be a mental thing, I suppose. Like, you'll probably have to shut off social media for a while, and it'll probably take a few months, but ultimately you just need to create an environment, metaphysical or physical, where you can, where your thoughts, your true thoughts can come out more and can be thought upon more, if that makes sense. Whether it's reading more about things that make you curious, or just engaging with the art of artists you like more, or the artists that speak to you, because you'll never be able to you can't really explain it viscerally right away about why a certain artist appeals to you, but it is something you often know. And if you really, because really what you need to do is you need to, things that appeal to you, you need to spend more time around them, if that makes sense. And things that appeal to your true self, sometimes what appeals to your true self and what appeals to you maybe socially that you do with other people. Those things that you like and you don't really tell other people you like, or that you kind of keep on the low, those are the things you need to turn up the engagement with, because that's your true self's curiosity and aspects coming out. And that's how you really help yourself rediscover yourself. And it's a little selfish, but you need to spend a little bit more time in your own world. And that can be obviously very difficult, and it is difficult to do in active day-to-day life. But I mean, you can give yourself the weekends, you can give yourself, if it's possible, you can basically any moment you can give yourself for a while. I think it's beneficial, because obviously I need to recognize my privilege in saying that, and even be able to say something like that, because I was very fortunate to where because creating a mental environment and creating a physical environment is very difficult. But for me, it was something I did with books. Books to me were something I use to, because obviously it's physical, being around them soothes me, but also you can read them and be taken to a metaphysical world which excites you and incites your curiosity, and obviously that's incumbent upon if you like books, but just as an example, maybe it's a certain type of music, maybe it's, and oftentimes it's things and what if you don't know what it is? Well, I think oftentimes it's things that we enjoyed as children, or there was oftentimes little harbingers from our childhood of what if it was that we would like, that we were going to like, because ultimately the period during our childhood is sometimes the most profound existence, our exterior existence of our true selves, and interior as well. Because when you're a child, there's little thoughts you have about capping your behavior, abridging your true self, from, say, comments from classmates or teachers or parents, but you're going to pay the most little heed when you're a child. So in some ways, it's trying to re-imbue yourself with a little bit of childlike wonder again, and childlike curiosity, because curiosity is how you'll learn. And it's, I especially think that it's gonna take a little bit of stepping away from social media a little bit, because we're so conditioned to think information should just have immediate rapidity, and we should be able to attain the information immediately. But when you're rediscovering yourself, it takes a little bit longer, and it's not immediate, and sometimes it might take years. It might take an immensely long time, but it's a process which you must begin today, which you can't put off, because when you rediscover yourself and find the most important things to you and what really matters to you, it's just going to be so much easier to find your purpose and to find what excites you, because your purpose is going to be something that shows itself in almost everything that you do. If it's something that you don't have to show, like you show up for, even if nobody tells you to, that's your purpose. Most oftentimes it has something to do with that. Because ultimately, if something is linked to your true self, it won't take anybody telling you to show up to do it. Sometimes it might, because sometimes there can be one of the impediments on our true selves are bad habits, and you can adopt bad habits, which can make it more difficult to discover your true self. And those are sometimes from within, but things such as that. And I'll find a list, and I should have actually, I know this is going to be a little bit more spontaneous, but I really should have found a list of all the true selves, the impediments on the true self, because those would be important to discuss. But basically, finding your purpose is something that is very difficult to do in today's world, but it's very possible. And that will, and if it's not evident to you immediately, it's something that will be shown. It will show itself to you through time, through your journey of self-rediscovery and self-discovery, because sometimes you never knew yourself, and you never had the blessing to know yourself, never had the opportunity to learn yourself truly. And sometimes you don't get that opportunity until adulthood, which is completely fine. But it's something that really is important. And I would say, yeah, there's so many things to learn before one can learn their purpose. But another really important thing I think you need to do is define success for yourself. Define success for your true self. Yes. That being what we are told we want, what we are told is success, does not align, I almost guarantee you, with your true self. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. But, things that, because success is taught as certain universal things. And of course, financial security is, and success is so subjective though. 'Cause success can be so many different things to so many different people, but ultimately you have to find it for yourself. So, because there can be purposes that you have but are not successful or likely to garner success through certain parameters such as financial or what have you. And obviously you'll have to do some thinking about it, and how can you still find your brand of success, and but also achieve the necessary successes for survival. It will be an interplay between the two. It's never going to be one entirety, but it will have to be a compromise between the two, or the three, or the four, however you wish to define your success. But yeah, it's something you have to do. You have to define your success, what it means to you. You can't, and that's part of that period of, I don't want to call it isolation, but basically what it is you step back into your world a little bit more. You don't let others influence you. You kind of step away from the influence of others, and you go into your world. You go back into your world a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Spend some time there. You spend some time there. You really get reaffirmed in yourself, lock in with yourself, strengthen and discover those true self features, what they are. Really, 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 you should be able to write down what our ideals are, what it is you care about, who you are as an individual. That's really how sure of yourself you should be. And then you can go out, and you can, in this step, when you go into that world of yours, is when you discover what it is you wish to do, what it is you wish to contribute to others. And maybe you find out it's still it's still the success that was defined to you by others. Maybe that's the case for you. But then afterwards, you go back into the world, and you're your true self, and you can contribute that gift, your gifts, with others, but have it aligned with your purpose or your purposes that relate to your true self, so that you can reach the state of elation, more sustained elation. That's not, because we have periods of elation, but they are often linked to what others think of us, what others say of us, what feedback others give us. But if you really create your own vision of success, and really create your own vision of your own purpose, you can live in that elation more permanently, because it's not incumbent upon others. It's incumbent upon you and your mind and your true self, and you will be living your true purpose. So you won't have any self-doubt about positive feedback or anything such as that. And that's another benefit of doing that sustained period of, I don't like to say the word isolation, but it's almost a positive, solitary. Yeah, I guess just solitary period. It's a very beneficial solitary period for you, because you're strengthening your true self. And then when you go out into the world, when you get that negative feedback for your true self aspects, or the aspects most similar to your true selves, you'll be impervious. They'll just bounce off you, because you took that time and you really developed yourself, and you really learned about yourself. And what others will say about you won't have as much impact, because it won't matter to you, because you already know yourself, and you already know what it is you're here to do, and you'll know your purpose. And yeah, it'll go right off your shoulder. And trust me, it's an amazing feeling. and you can talk about your dreams, you can talk about your purposes, and people can say whatever they want, but it won't mean anything to you, because you will be your fortress will be secure. Your true self will be a lot more secure. And not in the sense that it won't come out to the exterior world, but you won't be apologizing for it. It's just, it will be a thing of supreme confidence, because you know what it is you're here to do. And it takes time to get an extreme confidence with it, I know, and I'm still working on that too. I'm still coy talking about what it is I want sometimes with my dreams, no matter how, because I'm a very ambitious person. I'm a very, sometimes overly ambitious, sometimes too ambitious for my health. But it's a process of becoming supremely confident in your true self, because that's where your dreams reside. Your dreams reside in that true self. Your purpose resides in that true self. Everything is in that true self. And if you can get that, if you can get the layer from the exterior world to your true self to be as thin as possible, you will be unstoppable. And if you can get confidence in that true self, because you want to fortify the true self, but not in the sense that it doesn't go out, just in the sense that it's impervious to attacks, if that makes sense. Because that's your unique gifts to share with the world are found within your true self, your skills. But the next point of discussion is, how do you share that best with the world, that purpose? And that will be something you have to discover within yourself and within your life, because sometimes it will probably be something out of your comfort zone. Because for me, my purpose in inspiring creativity and inciting curiosity and, those things, it's something that requires me to actually create consistently, create on platforms which I can reach others, which is something that I'm still getting comfortable with. This is my first podcast, obviously. It's my first episode. But it's just coming to a realization that it's going to require you to get out of your comfort zone to share your purpose. But maybe it's not. Because living your true purpose requires you to put yourself up for, I suppose, social ridicule or social feedback. And like for me personally, I guess you just have to put yourself out there to really feel your true purpose and whatnot. And, for me, it's these videos, this podcast. And at the end of the day, most people they're not going to say anything. We're not in middle school anymore. But it's just like, subconsciously that's going to be in your mind that, hey, you're going to have to put yourself in a position that you weren't before. Because it's easy to be on the comfort zone. It's easy to be in the sidelines. But ultimately, to have the biggest impact with your true purpose, it's going to require you to really get out there and really get talking and really get doing, depending on what it is, obviously. And, for me, I'm used to creating, but creating in the sense that I create a physical object and it does it for me. But that's not very efficient. It's more efficient to speak. It's more efficient to, speak on platforms that can reach millions of people potentially. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Even if it only helps one person, I'll be fine, because it's my life purpose. So it's the life goal. It's to help as many as possible, but ultimately it will help who it needs to help. It will find who it needs to find. I really believe in that. So yeah, it will require a little bit of getting out of your comfort zone, because, your true self, it resides in the comfort zone, but it's the long-term comfort zone, because there's a comfort zone now and there's a comfort zone in the future. And the instant gratification comfort zone, it doesn't reside in. It can sometimes, but it's more long-term satisfaction, realigning with your true self, because you might not get instant gratification until you find people who align with your true self. And that's another thing too, is how do you find people that, nobody's going to have the same exact purpose. No one's going to have the same exact true self. They're going to be very similar. And when you find those people, it's magical. It's amazing. but just really having a circle that you feel like you can be yourself around. You can speak with no impediments on your desires or your thoughts or actions of your true self, your dreams, and your creative aspirations, your curiosities. So really having a circle like that helps, really, because I feel like sometimes we have friends out of convenience, and sometimes those aren't the most beneficial for long term. Pro self or true self procreation, I suppose, true self strengthening. Things that we only do things with, people we only do things with to pass time or to distract ourselves, when really there's people out there that it's just they're waiting to be discovered by you. They're not waiting, but you'll discover them when you need to. And those people you need in your life, the people who you feel like you can be yourself around. And I'm trying to be a person that people can feel like they can speak about their dreams without being coy. They feel like they can speak without having to restrain anything about their dreams, because and just instill confidence in people in their dreams and inspire them to take action for their true selves, so that they can discover their purpose and discover their identity and whatnot. Because purpose can be a very difficult thing to find, and purpose isn't always going to reside in you. It really just depends on the individual. Sometimes it will be you fully contributing yourself to an exterior, organization or what have you. Or it can take many paths. So try not to let any one person or any group tell you exactly what it is, but that's something you discover for yourself, and it's something that finds you when it needs to. Because like for me, it was something that had always been in what I was doing, but I didn't realize it. And now I can viscerally write and say it and speak it, and it feels like a relief, because now anything I've done for a while and anything I do now, it's basically aligned on the same purpose. And it's not every little action I do, but the long-term overall goal, because this is a long-term thing. True self, purpose, living authentically to yourself, to your authentic world. Those are long-term investments that you make. Those are long-term things that you make. It's not going to be done overnight, but it's just going to have to be something you're thinking about long-term. Like, what do you wish to leave with your fellow man? What do you wish to leave with your fellow woman? Whatever. What do you wish to contribute to humanity? And I know it's something that can sound very grandiose. Oh, what am I going to contribute? What's my purpose? But it's something which will reveal itself with time, I promise you. And don't feel bad about like not knowing it. It will come to you. It's not something that happens overnight, but just be assured that, if it's something that you do without having others that you have to tell, or without others having to tell you that you need to do it, then you are already on the right path to finding your purpose. And to conclude, it's just going to take a little period of, I don't want to say isolation, but solitary, pensive bouts of your own. Just writing or, journal who you are. Journal who you are, what interests you without anybody else around. If nobody else is around, and if nobody else was around for a long time, what would still interest you? What would you still be curious about? What would you still think? What would you still believe in? Like, just little thought experiments like that will help you. And it will be different for every individual. So it's a little difficult to just give broad advice. But your true self, who you are, you've already seen little glimpses of it. And for a while, you might have even lived it unapologetically, probably during your childhood, if you had the opportunity to. And even if you didn't, like, there was definitely glimpses. So just lock onto those, because sometimes they might not be most beneficial for you. You know, as you, those true passions of yourself, like as a child, are sometimes not going to be the same as now, and that's completely fine. But you know, a lot of times your the same desires will be there. So, and it's just going to have to be something you rediscover through yourself, and eventually you'll arrive at your purpose and what it is you wish to contribute. And it's a long journey. It's a long-term thing, and it doesn't have to be hard though, because it's something that brings you so much joy. And like I was saying earlier, it's the joy that's not incumbent upon the feedback of others, upon the approval of others. It's within yourself. So when, you know, you're not going to have any self-doubt because it's coming from within you. And that's something that takes time to build, but ultimately it's incredibly important to build, because sometimes when you say your purpose, others might doubt you, or others might laugh, or others will think what they think. People are always thinking what they want to. You can't control that. I mean, you can try to, but it's not the best to try and even think you can control it. Sometimes, I guess, depending on topic for another day, perception from others. But yeah, it's just something that takes time, but it's so worth the journey and so worth the reward. And it is a lifelong journey, because purposes can change over time depending on the world, depending on your situation. But hopefully this has been something that can give you impetus for further thought, seed for further thought. That's the whole point of this. Encourage self-reflection. I'd say, I don't want to give out homework, but I don't know. Maybe if you journal, I think journaling is a very good exercise. And it doesn't even have to be an exercise. It should be something that's, for me, journaling is something that's fun. It's not obligatory. Because then if it is, you feel like you can't communicate freely, if that makes sense. You feel like you have too much constraints on your thoughts, constraints on your creativity, which isn't bad, but I think journaling and trying to journal regularly is a very good start. Taking a little bit, like, start using social media less and less, because it's really easy to latch on to what others are saying, because we're social creatures. It's one of the things we like to do. We like to receive group approval, so we like to adopt group opinions at times, without really thinking if we align with it at our true self level. So yeah, step away from social media a little bit for a little while. Really create your own world within yourself. Strengthen your world within yourself, your true self. And yeah, like I said, it's just going to be a journey. It's just going to take time, but it's a journey you need to start today. You have to start it today, because that is how you discover your true self is, or your purpose. It's discovering your true self, and it's just something that takes time. But it's absolutely worth it. It's so worth it. It's so, the elation and the happiness which you can find from within is inexhaustible, I promise you, because like I said, you don't have to depend on others well, technically you have to depend on others, but it's from gifts you give to them, but you're not, it's with sharing your gifts with the world. So yes, it's coming upon others, but it's the mere fact that you're giving it, and it fulfills you, if that makes sense. And it can sound very selfish at times, but it's ultimately overall a gift you're sharing with the world, a purpose you're sharing with the world, sharing with your society, with your family, with your community, what have you. But ultimately it's something you're contributing to others, and that will bring you immense elation and long-term satisfaction, long-term benefits. But yeah, hopefully this has been a little bit helpful to at least somebody. And even if it's just one person that's been helped, I'm happy about that. This has been Pensive Bouts. I'm Jack WIESE, the host. Hopefully this has been something that you found useful. Just going to think quickly, see if there's anything else I want to talk about quickly about purpose. But yeah, this whole podcast will be, purpose will always be in mind of these episodes, and we'll bring up purpose again later, but because this is all, all this stuff's related. All this, all this art, all this design, all this fashion, all these reflective bouts, these are all correlated. These are all part of the same process. And it's something that worked for me, and I think it will work for creative individuals out there, people who have been creative at any point in their life, I think can be creative again, can be curious again. And yeah, that's episode 1. It's a wrap. Thank you for watching or listening, depending on where you found us. Really appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe. We'll be talking about these kind of topics all the time. Basically just trying to help you discover your true self again, or discover it, period. All right, I'm signing out. This has been Jack WIESE with Pensive Bouts. Bye. Go create something today.